Hi everyone, welcome to this week's painting where we paint Roger's beard. We're going to paint the ears and the cheeks and everything like that, but the beard is going to be the main emphasis. Look, thank you very much for joining me. It is certainly a pleasure having your company. I'm Michael, portrait artist from Perth, Western Australia, and I love sharing these videos with you. Hey, if you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel, give us that thumbs up, write some comments as we go along. It is all really appreciated. I do really appreciate every single one of you subscribers who's helping me grow this channel. It's absolutely fantastic. Now, in painting the beard, I'm going to show you a technique that just about guarantees that any beard you paint will work out. Now, it's scary to do, so a little bit of a warning, but it's not hard. It is really easy. It just takes a little bit of courage. Look, I'm really excited to share that with you. But as I say, we'll start off with the ears, we'll do his cheeks, and we'll do his lips. We'll get everything in place, and then we're going to get into the really exciting thing in how to paint a beard. So without further ado, let's paint.
Well, welcome to the easel, and we'll just start on this one with the ear. Now, one thing I'm going to say, and that's why I show you the painting before we get into it, is this ear is going to look rather dark. And it's only because we have nothing else for our eyes to grab onto. But believe me, all the values are correct, and that's what we're painting. So what I'm going to commence by doing is just painting some shapes, and that's all we're doing. If you notice that dabbing motion of the brush, I pull it off, I push it on, because I don't want straight, even lines. I want wobbly, different textured lines, different thickness lines. I want something for people's eyes to be able to bite onto. So when it's moving, it causes what I call grip. You know, the eyes flicking across there and will actually grip on what we're doing. So that is what we're doing here. This is a mixture of burnt umber. I'm using cadmium yellow this time. Sorry guys, cadmium yellow, and just titanium white. And the red, of course, my alizarin crimson that I've decided to use on this one. That's my new painting rod. I've hooked it up onto my slat wall. If you guys want to see how I built that slat wall, put a comment down below. Be absolutely fantastic. I will show you that, not a problem. I'll even give you a studio too if you like. Just put it in the comments, and I'll make a little video and show you how I've set up my very small studio, but it actually works and produces the work. I'll just grab a drink, guys. So in this video, we're going to just pop in the ears and the cheeks, just so we get going. We'll pop in his mouth, and then we'll get to the exciting thing of the beard. One thing I'm going to say about the technique that I use on the beard, it is going to look terrible when you first start. If you think this ear's looking bad because it's too dark, wait till you see how I do a beard. But it solves all your problems no matter what kind of beard you're doing. So I'm really looking forward to that part of this video. I've tried to keep the video around about that half-hour mark, so we're not eating into too much of time, but trying to show you as much as I possibly can on this painting process so you really get a good understanding of how I'm doing it. The beard's very exciting. I do spend quite a bit of time and in detail on that part, so I hope you look forward to this. But as you see these ears, so this ear here, I've marked in the dark spots. I'm now just going around. That is a number 6 filbert that I always use filberts. So now I'm just changing the values up. So it's basically the same mixture. It is still using the base of cadmium yellow. I've popped a little bit of alizarin crimson in, and then a little bit more of my burnt umber. Now, one thing about that, when you do put burnt umber into this mix, yes, you're going to see a greenish tinge come out. If you see that, just pop a little bit of red in there, because red is the opposite to green on the colour wheel, and it'll kill it for you, and you will get a beautiful skin or ear colour in this instance. I do like the red being in there because ears do have quite a bit of a red in them. But this one is not going to look right when you first paint him. It looks way out of character, it looks way too dark. You know, nothing seems to be working. you try this when you're about 3 feet from the canvas or a foot from the canvas painting it. I tell you, the hardest job I think we have as artists is not to second guess ourselves, not to look at this and just go, oh my goodness, let me get some more white in here, let me get some more yellow in here, let me lighten it up, because, because white and yellow is the only two ways we can actually lighten with my limited palette. As I always say, my limited palette really does limit me, but by limiting me, it really does expand me. And these muted tones and colors I absolutely love. As I've said before, my palette I'm using titanium white. They're all Winsor Newton colors, by the way. Titanium white. Next to that is the ultramarine blue. I've got brown next to that first. I start off with my burnt umber, then ultramarine blue. Next I've got my alizarin crimson, or sometimes I use pyro ribbon, and then either cadmium yellow or bismuth yellow, which is a Winsor Newton color, by the way. And then my black, because I like to add black to things to darken them, so I want it out of my colors. It is 60% ultramarine blue and 40% burnt umber. That way I can shift it either way. So now we're looking at the dark shadow on this side of his face, because it's going to start joining up to that shadow above the glasses there. I'll just grab a drink, guys. For some reason, I'm really thirsty today. I think it just must be the weather here in Western Australia just changing around. These are very small marks, and the reason being is I'm trying to get texture into this side of the face. Even though it's dark, I will still push and pull and put the texture in there. You see, I've just changed the value slightly here as I come down, and it's not just a straight line. You can really see as I push and pull how we get that wriggle going on. And it's the same with the wrinkles. Now, I've just done some pencil lines just to say, hey, Michael, this is where the cheek is falling over here. He's going to have some wrinkles. He's an older guy. Don't forget to put him in this kind of pattern. We won't follow it verbatim. And we're certainly not going to be following the thicknesses or anything like that. As you can see, I'm just marking in another shape that I want. Now, one thing I will say about darks, always paint them a little bit larger than what you want, because you're going to be cutting back into them with the lighter value that's next to them. So it's why I always say with wrinkles and things like that, and that's why I like painting still lifes, because you learn it in twigs. Paint them all in. It doesn't matter how wonky or thick or thin they go, because once you put the value up to them, you can then use your brush to push in and reshape. And you'll see that's what I do with everything. It's the same as I did with the forehead wrinkles, and I deliberately made them too dark, if you remember. We really went to excess just to prove a point. It doesn't matter. These wrinkles here may be on the touch dark, and I will say that if you're a little bit doubtful on the value, always err on the side of caution. And the side of caution is not to make them lighter than what you think they are, but make them slightly darker, because they're a lot easier to lighten than what they are to darken afterwards. And I'll just flick a few little marks in here to get the wrinkles going. And you see what I've done now. I want to just copy that across into that eye. So I've just flicked a little bit into the eye there. Here I'm just going to change the value again, and just be a little bit careful there, because I do have these glasses going by. I don't know what type of glasses they are, but they're very, very, probably Armani's or something like that, but very, very fine arm on them. So I was quite conscious of that. I do like round rim glasses. So again, we're going to now just come down with our different value, and you can really see it starting to show up now. And again, just very, very small brush marks now. And it's don't just paint it in a stripe, because if you do it like I'm doing, that dabbing and that crossing and flicking your brush around as you're coming down, what it's going to do is going to add texture. You're going to get different shadings. When I'm actually going back on my palette, you've often seen me do this in my other video and the other part of this, you'll see I'm actually not just grabbing out of one pile of color, I'm actually probably grabbing out of 2 or maybe 3 piles of color. So there's kind of a bit of a mixture on that brush. So this dabbing motion and twisting it is actually popping in a couple of different values rather than just one solid value. It's a technique that I learned a long time ago, and it was from a watercolor artist, believe it or not. Yes, I'm trying to remember his name. And he used to like to, whenever he went back to his palette, he would always add a little bit of color, or he's always grab 2 colors on his brush and go from there. And I thought, oh, that's interesting. That adds a little bit more interest, a little bit more texture, a bit more dynamics to what we're doing. So yeah, whenever I go back, even though I pre-mix a lot of colors, I will grab 2 values pretty close, just twist the brush when I pick them up. And that way, when I come on here, and I'm kind of getting that blending without going blendy on this, and it enables me then to get differences really, really subtle. Your eyes pick it up. The camera has a real difficulty with it, but eyes are incredible pieces of apparatus and can really pick it up. Now, this is something I like to do. Now I'm going the opposite. Before we went too dark, and now I'm going to go too light. And you see I've just smudged them out, and now get a little bit of darker color. All I'm doing is wiping the paint off my brush, by the way, in that paper towel, as I dab over these really light marks. But I want them to make that almost a bluey smudge in around his eye. And now you see what's happened, because I put the light and I've taken my time just to smudge it in. We get a really nice effect that's maybe a little bit hard to do any other way. Well, I know other artists do it, but I find this easier, and why not just take it easy? Now we'll just pop across to the other side here. I just grab a drink. Now the darks are not as dark as what's on one side now. They're still going to be dark. Funny little shapes on this, and you might say, what is he doing? I'm just getting darks in place, and you can see the other ear is still not sitting properly yet, because we haven't got the beard. Wait till we do the beard. The foundation of the beard, you're going to just go, oh my goodness. It takes a bit of courage to do this, but anyway, here we go. We're on it was on his left ear and the right hand side as we're looking at it now. And again, the same colors, guys. I've just got a base of cadmium yellow, popped a bit of alizarin crimson in there, burnt umber. When the burnt umber's taken it a little bit greenish, I've just popped a little bit of red just to counter it. And that's giving me a really nice reddish tinge to these ears without overdoing the whole thing. And I quite like how that turns out. Again, I do have a range of brushes, by the way. When I will do a video, not on this one, because this one's quite a long video, but I will show you the small studio I've got set up and how I use my slat wall there. If one of the better, I think people call them wall easels. It's a slat wall to me, coming from building, and how I hang everything up on there, and it works really, really well. And keeps all my paintings vertical, even slightly the base slightly kicked in, which is helping the lighting. One thing you're going to see in this, the lighting part, that when we get into the beard will change. I was getting a fair bit of glare, as you guys know, on the paintings when I've been painting, and I've been trying to work out a way of doing it. And a suggestion came through to actually put a polarizing lens onto the lens, or polarize onto the lens. So I've done that. It does change it, but I actually quite like the look that it is produced, as well as getting rid of the glare. It's actually produced a more realistic colors. So you'll be able to see that when you see me change to the beard part, because I do take a little bit of a break between the two. I just get this foundation in now. Again, funny shapes, aren't they? I mean, when you look at someone's face and you look at the shapes and you look at how I've painted the shapes in here, you might say, what is that? I am over painting, because I know as I get to my lights, I'll be able to cut back in and get that shape and get the blend and get that hollowness that I want on that side of the face. So that's the reason that bit of darks in there is, because I want a bit of hollowness in there. I want that cheek to look like it's sunken in. So we're starting to mirror the side that we've already finished, and you can see how I've done it on the other side. I've got the dark on that ridge, but just as it starts to get down, I've put a couple of light spots in there, and that is giving us the shape. This again is just, I'm sorry my hand's in the way, guys, but this is crease line, and what you're going to see me now do, and I think it's, yes, I just paint over the top. Once I get this crease line in where I want it, you'll see I'll put a little bit of red coloring just over the top, like a bit of warmth on top of that cooler color, and that will give it a feeling that that cheek is curved. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm just pushing that in there, and it's a little bit reddish, so it puts a bit of color in there, and that way when I come back down on it, you'll see in a minute, as the lighter color comes over top, it gives it that fold. You know, the cheeks have got the fold in them, and especially older guys, you know, here I am talking, we have these folds and the heaviness that is going on there. So that's what all that is about. I'm just taking my time cutting around the glasses, but you'll still see as I'm squiggling that brush down. And I just don't like straight, even lines. You know, this isn't paint by numbers. I'm not trying to stay within anything. And we'll just get that shaping going. A bit of dabbing. That push, as I tell you all the time, when I'm pushing those bristles, I'm pushing the lighter color into darker color. And then as I pull out, it drags some of that darker color into the lighter color as well. And vice versa. That way I don't have to worry about blending or anything like that. I've noticed that his eye here could perhaps do a little bit more shadow just under there. And that's all I did. How easy is that? Now, I'm having a look at this mouth now, and even for my eyes, because, you know, we're only a foot off the canvas here. So I'm just going to put a little bit of color around here now that I wouldn't normally do, but I am going to do it this case. I just had a look and went, let me just put some shapes around here, and I'm not being too fussy. You can see I'm just squishing the color in. And it's just going to get that mouth line where I want it. And it will just give my eyes something to bite on now, something to grip on. I can actually start to see it in relation to his chin and go, okay, yep, not a problem. That looks about where I've just sketched it in really, really rough. Let's just mark where that bottom of that, you know, the ball of the chin is. Just put a little bit in there. The color doesn't matter, by the way. I'm just marking in some shadow areas. Here's that polarizer lens, guys. I've just popped the polarizer on. And I think it's brought the colors out. Might have sent him a little bit pinkish, but that's okay. We're looking at the values more than anything. Now, again, this is a burnt umber, alizarin crimson, and the Bermuda yellow popped in here. And I think I did put a little touch of blue, but very, very careful with the ultramarine, because I do want to keep it brown. There's a lot of brown in this painting, and by having the browns come through, even his beard's going to have a lot of brown. It's not going to look brown, but believe me, it's got a lot of brown in it, and it doesn't look brown because it's against the skin color, but it is. We had it blue, which you might say, well, blue's grey, and he's got a grey beard, so let's put some more blue in there. It would just go off, trust me. And at one stage, I think in some of the highlights, I pop a bit of my cadmium yellow into there. I keep saying Bermuda yellow. I'm so used to using that colour from Winsor & Newton. I know they don't sponsor me, which is a pity. So all I'm doing now is just getting the shape of this mouth in, and getting it set up for when we're going to put his mustache and his beard in. The exciting bit of this video. If you've got any questions to ask me, guys, just put them in the comments below. I hope you've all hit subscribe, give me a thumbs up, put some comments down there. It's really, really appreciated, trying to make this channel grow, which there's so many oil painters on YouTube. It's absolutely incredible. They're so fantastic, some of them. So I really do appreciate anyone that's hit that subscribe button. I appreciate every single one of you. I know it's a big deal. A lot of YouTubers say it's not a big deal, you know, it's a little thing, but I do know it is a big thing, because you get all the notifications from us when you do it. So hit that subscribe and notification bell. It really does mean a lot, and it really, really do appreciate it. Okay, so we're getting towards the beard. I'm just going to put a bit of a highlight on that lip. And again, it looks like it jumps out a little bit because we haven't got anything else to relate to. And I'm just basically just wiping some stuff off the brush now. I'm having a look around now. What I want to do is now form a base for the beard. Now this looks terrible. Trust me, you're going to say, oh, what am I doing watching this guy? He doesn't know what he's doing. He said he was going to paint a beard, and look at it. It gets worse. Hang around for when it gets worse, guys. Oh dear, it gets worse before it gets better. But this is the secret to actually getting a beard. See, it's dark going up that jawline, so let's put some dark under the beard. I'm actually putting foundation in, not ladies foundation, but a foundation to this beard now. You'll see I'm starting to come across, and I'm not being too fussy with the brush strokes. I am thinning the paint out, like brushing it in, so it's a bit thinner on there. But look at the textures and the variety of colours that I'm going to pull in. Yeah, I'm just going to climb up there a little bit. I think some of his beard might be covering that. I want to get some contrast underneath. If you want to paint a beard, do this. If you want to paint rocks, do this. This is how I paint rocks, by the way. I do landscape paintings every now and again if I'm out just having fun. And this is exactly what I would do to paint my rocks. And it's huge fun. You do this, people just looking and going, oh, this guy thought he was a painter, and look at his mess he's made. Then they come back after 5 or 10 minutes and go, how did he turn that into something that looks absolutely spectacular? Anyway, here we go. So now I'm just cutting around that jawline, making sure I get that covered. I'm using different colors as well as different values, but I'm definitely using different colors because this is going to come through when we do our beard. The beard is the fun bit. By the way, the colors of the beard's whiskers that I've done, I'm pre-mixing 9 values with the emphasis on brown. So it's dark brown, and then I've just increased the lightness of brown. And the last one, I've actually popped a little bit more of the cadmium yellow in there just to get it. So this is his mustache area. And so this is just what I do to form this foundation. It takes a bit of courage because you spent quite a lot of time painting a portrait, and now you're doing this to it. And, you know, it could be looking like, oh my God, I've just lost all my hard work. But there we go. That is the secret to painting beards. Don't go anywhere. The beard is coming on top right now. But I just want to give you that close look what I've done. Okay, an old filbert brush. This is a number 7. It's a bit splayed. I'm starting with my darkest brown. I'm just going to dab it in. Look at these little dab strokes. Turn it flat, turn it vertical. I've gone vertical as I just got the side of his face there. This is going to be interesting because it's not going to look anything until the very, very end when it just all pulls together. So this takes a bit of courage, but you can see how dark that color is. It was going up the side there, but I do want to transition some of the dark into even this lighter area, you know, because there's no real consistency. And there you go, I'm up into that mustache area now, and you can see how I'm flicking the brush in the direction that I think the whiskers are going to be traveling. And this is, and I know it looks a mess, doesn't it? And we'll just come down here, brush a little bit more. Now I'm going to start changing the values up and start putting more in. These are the dark values. So I always start dark to light. I've put my foundation. By the way, I did not let that dry, guys. I've gone straight in. It's alla prima. Yes, you can come over the top. Now, I know some people say, oh, you shouldn't put darks over lights. Well, yes, you can. And this is how we're doing it. This is about having fun. Oh, goodness me. I love this bit. And I do have people watch me, and I've had students, you know, learnt with me, are just going, oh, it's going wrong. What am I going to do? It's like you're doing nothing wrong at all. As long as you get your darks in underneath, there's absolutely nothing to go wrong. You just are going to make this look absolutely sensational. So just go up the side. Very short dabby marks. Now, the reason I'm just giving an illusion up there, and you can probably see it now, it will give the illusion that it's a beard, but I've painted no hairs. I've actually painted no hairs whatsoever. All I did was just change the value and give it a bit of movement in that value shift. So when it comes down that side of the face, people looking are going, oh. Now, I don't want the eyes stuck there, which is why I don't put a lot of detail of the hair in there. So it's just basically smudgy marks, but but smudge marks going in there of just different values. You see I start to hold the brush a little bit different as I go in. Now look how dark this is, and I haven't moved yet. I'm being very, very slow. I've got 9 values on my palette, and I can tell you the temptation to move through the values quickly is enormous. Please don't do that. You've spent the time putting this foundation. You see the foundation now coming through as I do this, and it'll make even more sense as we get in. I'm certainly not going to cover it up, but you can see it start to radiate through now, which is great. In between the gaps, I've now moved to a different value, and you can see that coming in. And again, flicking, short flick strokes, and that's why I'm holding the brush like that, just to get those little short flick strokes now. I'm not trying to draw paint hair, even though it looks like little strands of hair. That's just an illusion, by the way, little strands of hair appearing. All I've done is change the value. And you can see I'm not painting hair, I'm just smudging it in where I think it should go. Again, it still looks terrible. I know. Have a bit of patience. All I'm doing, by the way, when I do it, I stop a lot. I will do a little bit, I'll stop, I'll actually lean back in my chair and have a look, just so it's not boring for you. I've just cut that bit out. But yeah, so anytime you see a little flicker on the camera, that's where I've actually stopped and leant back from the painting to try and get an overview and go, okay, where's my next value going? Am I ready for another value shift, which is normally what I'm asking myself, and resist the temptation to go through your values too quickly. I've mixed 9 values up here. We need to put those 9 values down onto the canvas, and you'll slowly see this thing come to life. It will look muddy, it will look terrible. Remember, we're doing alla prima, it's wet in wet. This whole painting's wet. I actually put a little bit of linseed oil with my paints to soften them and to get a better flow, but it also slows down the drying process. I use walnut oil as well, but I think linseed oil is perhaps one of my favorites. So there you go. I'm now just brushing around. I've changed another value, and I'm just brushing the direction. Now remember, old men's beards are different than young men's beards. As we get older, our beards do thin out. They go patchy. They're not solid anymore. We'd like to think they're going to be, but quite often they're not. And this gentleman's got a great lock of hair on top. But yeah, even his beard's quite thin. When you speak to him and when you meet him, it's like, beard's not that thick. And you find, if you observe that, if you want to put age on somebody without making them look really old, by heavy wrinkles, just for a man, just thin his beard out. Do this, what we're doing now. Put that nice base coat, and even if it was a heavy base, a really thick beard, I would still put this underneath because I still want patches of it coming through. It would just be where they come through the end will be interesting. Okay, here we go on this top part. We just start to shape the top of the mustache. You see, this is the lighter area, so it didn't look right at the start. We're kind of missing bits and pieces, and what are we doing? And as you flick this little brush movement, very, very light, it's just basically that brush is just balanced in those fingers there, and I'm just slowly changing values as I go through. The secret is put that funny base in, different colors, a few different values, going from dark to light, but even in your values, change the colors up, and then you can paint like this, and it will work for you every time. Just do a couple more little flicks in here. Now comes the lighter. Actually looks like hair, and yet I haven't. You guys know I haven't used a rigger brush or anything small. This thing is an old brush. It makes a nice little texture. But trees, rocks, all grass, all that sort of stuff. If you just change the values up and take your time working through your values and layering, and yes, you can layer in alla prima, not a problem. Here comes that little bit of yellow that I popped in. You can just see it probably better on the brush. The brush is catching. But this just is a little bit of a highlight in the top. I like to do this where the light hits a mustache or something. Just put a little bit of sunshine in there, just so people go. Now let's just fix his mouth up a little bit. Again, that is I think it's a number 6 filbert that I've grabbed. I've got a whole rack of them, by the way. I'll show you how I set them up in a video. I'll do a video and show you how I set things up. Well, that's the end of my coffee. I was drinking a coffee while I spoke to you. Very nice as well. Yeah, so let's just put that highlight back in that lip, you know, because it does get a little bit lost, and I do want that little bit of attraction there. We'll just affirm that crease up there, making sure that we've got that crease in the right spot. You can see that curve now with the orange, ready orange above it, and then going to the paler gives you that nice curvy effect. So that's what we want to get underneath as well. That's all I'm doing there, just popping that in. I'm just having a look at this mustache, but there you go, folks. It is done. Easy way of painting beards.
Well, thanks for joining me this week as we painted his beard. Yeah, we put the ears and the cheeks in there, and we did his lips, which is pretty easy to do. But what a mess was that beard when we started it. I told you had to be brave to paint beards. But if you do it and you practice it, it becomes so easy, and you get more confident with your variations in colors and tones underneath that beard. And then as you just slowly work through the value sets that you put for your beard, it becomes really, really simple. Just take your time. We did it alla prima, all wet in wet. There is no issue whatsoever. So that was a lot of fun to do. Thank you so much. Next time we're actually going to paint the shirt and the waistcoat and the jacket, and this one will be finished. Look, if you're enjoying these videos, please hit that subscribe, give us a thumbs up, write some comments. I love them too. Thank you so much for everyone who's helping this channel grow. It is really, really appreciated. Well, that's it for this video. I'll see you on the next one.